Hello, good morning, and happy Saturday to you all. Welcome to a brand new show here on the Let's Talk Sports Network. This is the College Football Tailgate Show. My name is Alan, and I am joined by Mr. Big Mike from the Man Cave Media. How you doing, sir?
Good. How about yourself, my man?
Just got up about 30 minutes ago, so I'm still trying to wake up.
I've been
uh,
rocking since 6, so
and what a world we live in, huh?
yeah.
But yeah, welcome to a brand new show. This isn't, obviously it's us two. We'll probably be on. This will probably be us, and maybe a couple others will be joining it later parts of the year and whatnot. This is still a work in progress, as Tanner's probably mentioned to everybody. So this is something we've been wanting to do for a while now. Have a college football show, a dedicated college football show, and yeah, we got it down. So let's see how we do with this. You ready to get it started?
Let's roll.
Alrighty, let's take a look at some of the action we got going on today. Obviously, the big one is going to be right away here at noon Eastern, 11 o'clock my time here in Central Time Zone. Ohio State, Penn State, big matchup here. Two top 10 teams. Penn State's always kind of looked at as like the little brother of the Big Ten. It's usually Michigan or Ohio State that ends up taking that conference. Sometimes you get the every so often Wisconsin or whatnot coming out just randomly. But yeah, Penn State, though, this is a really good Penn State team. A lot of people are very high on this Penn State team this year because they have a quarterback who can sling it. And their defense is, it's Penn State defense. So what do you think about this matchup?
First off, I can't believe they got this thing going on at noon. I cannot believe they didn't move it around, do something with it. I mean, they knew this game was going to be big, pre-rankings before the season even started. They knew what this was going to be. They had to know. But this is huge for both sides. Like you said, Penn State's looked at as the little brother, that team that wish they could be up there. The ones that try to be there, not always there at the end of the year because of course, the team up north and us, Ohio State Buckeyes. But this is huge for them to get over that hurdle, but it's huge for Ohio State to see if McCord could be the quarterback they need him to be and show up in big games and not start slow and see if that's the team that can go all the way or are they going to lose and then start crumbling.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of the same thing. If you go back a couple weeks, it's kind of the same thing we saw, in Notre Dame. He kind of slowed down a little bit at the beginning of that game, but when push came to shove, he rose to the occasion, got Ohio State the victory there on the last play. So, will that be the kind of game we see out of him? Who knows? But you need to get started fast, especially against this Penn State defense, because if they start getting after you, they can get after you for sure.
Listen, turnover is going to be the word of this game. If Penn State starts creating them early, it's going to be a catch-up game. And I don't know if McCord will decide to crumble under pressure because he's got to start going now. He has to go fast, and it can't be that ease into it like he's used to. Last week was the only week they started fast. They hit it, and they went, like, nonstop. But, yeah, they have to start fast. Otherwise, it's going to be a huge problem.
Mm-hmm. And you look at Penn State's defensive numbers, they have an average of 8 points scored on them on defense, which is the second best in the nation. So this defense is no joke, folks. And again, this is why a lot of people are very high on Penn State this year as kind of a sleeper team that could potentially, maybe get into the playoff, maybe surprise the Big Ten a little bit this year. But and not forsaking it, the quarterback situation at Penn State has always been kind of it hasn't been bad, but it's been kind of so-so. Nowadays, though, Drew Aller has been phenomenal. 1,254 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, a QBR of 75.8. They finally have a quarterback at Penn State now. So the question is, can James Franklin get this team over the hump?
And like you said, that is the question because before this man right here, it's been nothing but like Trent Dilfers. We can lead, we can gain manage to our best ability, but we can't do that. Hey, when we need you, you got to go down the field and do it. It's other pieces that I have been having to do it. whether it was, Saquon, or whether it was the defense, whether it was, again, who knows what it was, but that it wasn't ever the quarterback doing the job. But now you said his stats. I mean, he's been lighting it up. He's been doing everything he needs to do with that defense. And if it stays like this, it's endless. It's limitless for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got another person jumping in on here. We got our Hall of Famer, Scott Cope. Scott, how you doing this morning?
Doing good. You guys don't have any faith in Penn State? They just beat UMass 63-0. Come on, what the
hell?
I mean, it's a crazy matchup here, Scott. Like we were talking about, Penn State has the second best defense in terms of points given up. Oddly enough, Ohio State has the third best. They're at 9.7. So this might be a low scoring affair here tonight or today, I should say.
What do you guys think of McCord, the Ohio State quarterback? You like him, or what do you think?
I think it's, you still don't know, because you've seen both sides of it. Where when he starts fast, he looks good. When he's getting the ball to Marvin, spreading it around like he should, looks good. But when he's starting slow, it's like he loses track of his stars out there. Yeah. And I agree. Low scoring. And I told him earlier, if I'm betting, I'm taking Penn State into points, because I think it's going to be that close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the over-under is at 46 or 45 right now. I love the under. Marvin Harrison is battling some kind of injuries. He's playing, obviously, but he's battling something. So if he's not 100%, Penn State's got a shutdown cornerback that they can just put on him and maybe neutralize him. And if you neutralize Marvin Harrison Jr., the Ohio State offense is totally different than what it is when he's operating at full 100% speed. So,
especially if Buka's out. If he turns, then okay, but you got him injured. Two running backs down, because I don't know if they're going to play the red shirt. I can't think of his name, but Hayden's the guy they need to use. Screw the rest of them. Use Hayden, because he's been the one most productive lately. But like you said, Penn State's got that shutdown corner. Marvin isn't up to the task. It's going to be a long day.
Yeah, and the thing I heard on the TV or the radio, I think it was the radio, is that this game's really not that important to Penn State. It's 2 weeks down the road against Michigan. Well, I don't want to be facing Michigan having to win that game to get to the Big Ten title game. No. Win the game today. Don't Michigan. You're not going to beat Michigan. Michigan is head and shoulders above class in any program in the country right now. So don't leave it to chance for 2 weeks down the road. Take care of business today. And then if you lose the Michigan game, you lose it. Okay. You're probably still going to get the Big Ten title game. But because Ohio State's going to lose to Michigan, I think, in the rivalry game. So leave nothing chance. Go out there today and beat Ohio State. But I don't have much confidence James Franklin in a big game like this. He tends to make some decisions that are a little screwy. So,
yeah, his track record, especially in big games, hasn't been good in recent years. I mean, he's had some big moments. Everybody remembers the whiteout game from a few years ago when Penn State upset Ohio State at home. So, but other than that, there's been a couple instances where it's just like, you had your opportunity and you blew it. But it seems like everything's just kind of falling right for Penn State right now, because like I mentioned to Mike, they have a really, really solid defense. They finally have a quarterback who can sling it, other than, just the here or there guys like the Hackenbergs of the world and whatnot. But what do you think of their offense, Scott?
Penn State's offense? They haven't played anybody yet. I haven't seen them play. That's the whole point. They haven't played in Ohio State yet. They haven't played in Michigan yet. They haven't played. You're playing UMass in non-conference games. You're playing the Indianas, the Illinois, all those types of teams. This is a step up in class for them. This is a real test for Penn State to see where they are. So, and they've struggled at the beginning of games. That's the whole thing with Penn State. UMass and Penn State were it was still a game at the end of the first quarter. You need to put teams like that away, and they haven't done that yet. And that's the thing. But I agree with Mike. I think it's going to be a field goal game. I think Penn State's going to show up today, because I think they hear this stuff about how they're not good in big games, especially James Franklin. So I like their offense just good enough to stay in the game with Ohio State. Now, whether they win it or not, it's a different story. If it was at Penn State, Happy Valley, I'd tend to lead to Penn State for sure.
Listen, that key word you said, Alan, with James Franklin and Penn State is home. Their big moments they win are at home. It's in Happy Valley. When they're away from there, it's like a totally different game and team.
Yep.
And back to the point of looking ahead, that's another factor that has a problem here. If they're looking ahead and they're not worried about this isn't the game they want to win, then they're going to go out there and get smoked.
Yeah.
That's going to be the problem here. And they don't want to do that. They played Indiana. Where was the Indiana game at? I'm pretty sure, was that in Indiana, right?
I believe it was, yeah. I believe
and look
it was.
how slow they started that game. That game was close the first half, and then they took off on them. If they do that against Ohio State and McCord's on, it's over. It's going to be over quick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Seems to be a running trend with some of these teams here in college football this year. This slow starts in the first half, and then they pick it up in the second half. So, I mean, we've kind of only seen maybe one or two teams just kind of straight up dominate throughout most of the game. So, like you said, Michigan's in a class above their own. Georgia, you could probably say, but they've been kind of up and down as far as some games are. So it's like, what Georgia team are we going to get? Are we going to get the Georgia team from last week where they completely dominated? Or are we going to get the Georgia team that just barely beat Vanderbilt or barely beat Auburn or one of that Georgia team?
Without Brock Bowers, they're not as good as they are with him. Mm-hmm. So in my mind, Michigan's the number one team in the country right now.
Yes.
Until proven otherwise.
Listen,
Brock Bowers makes so much difference to that team. They may lose a game down the stretch here because they don't have Brock Bowers.
And I agree with that 100%. I don't know how they barely beat Auburn and Vanderbilt and didn't move down. Like Ohio State moved down and they were winning games and they still moved them down.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was crazy to me. I'm like, all right, cool. I get it to an extent. But then you see Georgia barely beat these no-namers. I mean, Auburn's a big name, but they're not good this year. They're not a team you worry about. And they barely beat Vandy. And then you don't see Michigan jump ahead. Michigan, granted, I hate to say it, should be number one. I mean, that they should definitely be number one right now.
Agreed.
Let's say, who does Georgia have? They're actually off this week, I think.
They're off this week.
They're off this week, but next week it's Florida, so that'll be a interesting matchup for them going into next week. Our next game here, not really much of a contest. It's Central Florida and Oklahoma. Oklahoma's looked really, really good so far this year. Big win against Texas 2 weeks ago. They're coming off a bye. Central Florida hasn't been the best as far as one of the newcomers into the Big 12. I'm expecting a massacre. I don't know what you guys are thinking on this game, but Mike, I'll start with you. Does Oklahoma have to at least put up 50 to be kind of convincing here in this matchup?
I mean, I think they're going to do that without even flexing. I mean, Dillon Gabriel should just right out the gate, just blow them out in the first half, and then you start throwing in the backups and letting them get out there because – like you had said, UCF is not what they have been the last so many years. They definitely don't have the team to even strike a match and say, hey, we're here. No, they might show up in that first drive if they get the ball first and say, hey, yeah, we got 7. And then that's it. That's the end and done. Because, again, that game against Texas showed Dillon Gabriel could do more than just run the ball. That whole game he ran it until that last drive. He started tossing it, and he looked good doing it. So, Oklahoma should run right through these dudes as quick as possible.
Scott, what do you think?
Here's the deal. Is Oklahoma off their bye week still on a high from the Texas game? That's the whole thing. Sometimes they play one of these games that you say, what happened? They'll win the game, but it'll be like by 10 points or something. And you'll say, what happened? Could this be the game today? The UCF quarterback, I guess, was playing hurt, but now he's back to 100% again, and he gives teams problems with his dual threat. So that's the only question I would have with Oklahoma. Should Oklahoma bury UCF today? Absolutely. They should put a 40 to 50 spot up on them. Will they? Just depends on how they're coming back from the Texas game. I know it was 2 weeks ago. I know they didn't play last week, I don't think. Did they, Alan?
No, they're No, Texas was off as well. So
Okay, so
both teams were off. So
that'd be the only question I would have with Oklahoma is are they dialed in and focused? They have a really good opportunity to get to the college football playoff this year.
Mhm.
And so they need to take care of business the rest of the year. And I think if they get by today, I think it's smooth sailing to the Oklahoma State game.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say, I think if anything, I would be more worried about next week because they're playing Kansas, and I think that's the week before Oklahoma State.
Yep.
So, and it's like I was telling Mike earlier, Oklahoma State is kind of completely fallen off as far as being a Big 12 powerhouse here in this year. I mean, they got a big win last week, but they've been scrambling through who's going to be their quarterback for the remainder of the year. They finally settled on Alan Bowman. So, big game for them today at West Virginia. So we'll have to wait and see what they do today. But yeah, I'm expecting, I don't think they'll be, on that high coming off Texas. I think next week is going to be one where you look at and go, maybe this could be the week that Oklahoma has a letdown game because they are playing Kansas. Kansas is probably the third best team in the Big 12 right now. And then they've got to play Oklahoma State the week after because everybody, especially locally, that game is going to be very emotional for the state of Oklahoma in general because it's going to be the last Bedlam game. It's going to be the last Bedlam game. There's a lot of animosity between both teams. A lot has been said in the media, by Mike Gundy, by, Brent Venables and all the things about Oklahoma leaving, going to the SEC and everything going. That's going to be a very, very emotional game for both sides. So you can't overlook Kansas and prep for that game.
I don't know if Mike agrees with me, but I'll tell you this. Throw everything out when Oklahoma and Oklahoma State play at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
The last Bedlam game possibly ever, Oklahoma State's going to be sky high more than ever for that game, where it's the last game. So Oklahoma's really got to be on their P's and Q's, so to speak, for that game. So,
I agree 100% because again, the last time it'll be that it doesn't matter who's out there playing. They're going to throw everything, every haymaker they have. They're going to start landing them. And this is going to come down to that who's got that last punch thing because Oklahoma State will want to walk off like, hey, we got the last win. And they could ride that out for a little bit saying, we got that one on you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's in a couple weeks and it is in Stillwater. So home field advantage for the Cowboys there in that game. So couple other games here. Air Force and Navy is a good one. It's always, it's Navy hasn't been really the best this year. Air Force has looked really, really solid, obviously with their triple option run. And basically, this is the kind of the same offense that Air Force runs. They know it. They've scouted it. Should this be a route too over the Naval Academy?
No. This is a totally different animal of a game. That's number one. Number two, neither team's going to throw the ball. The Air Force starting quarterback is out for today. Laria, he's not playing. I should know because Air Force has been like the ATM machine all year long in betting. They've cashed every week that I've played them. So Air Force is going to have some problems today. The backup quarterback that came in last week for Laria, he took 5 snaps, fumbled twice against Wyoming. So to me, that tells me that, and he's not going to throw the ball. He's thrown one time in his college career, one time. So to me, that tells me that this is going to be a very close game. This is going to be a low-scoring game. I read a stat that usually in college football games, there's 140 snaps because Air Force and Navy run so much, it's down to 111 between these two teams. So you're taking away 30 snaps out of the game. That's 30 chances and opportunities to score. The clock is just going to run and run and run. So this is going to be an extremely low-scoring game. It's going to be like an Iowa game. It's going to be one of these 17 to 7 type of games today. So it's going to be very low-scoring today.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Mike?
I agree with all that. It's always crazy to me, this triple option, how they just run. They don't ever throw the ball. Like nobody goes there that can throw the ball. They just say, hey, you know what? We're going to run. Everybody's going to run. I would have thought somebody that could actually throw the ball would have ever went to one of these schools besides Roger Staubach back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, it amazes me. It just does. But yes, I believe it'll be low scoring, and Air Force, they'll get the job done.
I will tell you this. I bet Air Force all year long, so I've watched them. This Laria kid can throw the ball. They're like BBs coming out of his arm. They're like on clotheslines. They're boom, gone, zip. And he got hurt last week. And so now their backup quarterback does not throw any passes at all. So they're going to run. This game could be over in 2 hours. That's how quick it could go. Starts at 12 noon Eastern. It could be over by 2. So it's going to be really fast. So
Another interesting game. We're going to move on to the 2:30 slot here, or the 3:30 slot if you're in the East Coast here. Oregon hosting Washington State. This is kind of an intriguing matchup. Washington State has lost a couple games here recently. Oregon coming off the loss to Washington in that epic game from last week. They still have a dynamic offense. Their defense has been playing well aside from the Washington game last week. And then, of course, Washington State, you really can't look past this team because they've gotten some big wins so far this year as well. So what do we think of this matchup?
They got blown out last week. Washington State, 44-6 to Arizona. That was shocking. Oregon's playing mad today. The coaching staff, head coach thinks he blew the game. They're at home. They're playing mad. If they're up 35-0, they're just going to keep scoring. Oregon might win this game like 50-10 or something like that. Washington State's in serious trouble. I watched the tape of them play last week against Arizona. They did not look good at all. So I think Oregon's going to put it on them today.
And it's crazy the fall off because they were looking so good at the beginning of this year. They looked like they might have had pieces on both sides. They looked strong, and then all of a sudden, bam, they just plateaued, and that's it. And Oregon is pissed, boy. They are mad as hell that Penix Jr. did what he did to them and that Husky team. And Lanning, ain't going to settle for this. He's going to do what he did against Colorado, run out there. There ain't going to be no extra points, 2-point conversion. He's going for it on fourth. He's doing that. He's going to throw everything out there and say, hey, that was a little bit of a slip up, but don't think we're down on this because we are not the team that's going to be down. We're going to be there at the end.
Alan, it's going to be fourth quarter. They're going to be up 45-3 or 45-10. It's going to be like 4th down and 7 from the Washington State 12-yard line, and he's going to try to throw a pass to get another touchdown. That's how mad he's going to be. You watch. He's going to do that today. So,
and especially if you feel like he gave that game away, he's going to come out swinging. I'm not saying that he's going to put up like they're going to put up like 60 or 70 on him today, but I would not be surprised.
Oh yeah, not at all.
No. You remember the 81-7 game against Portland State first week of the season?
Yeah.
Something like that could happen again today. So,
yeah, I would not want to be a Washington State fan today.
Don't even go to the game.
Just don't watch. Just don't watch. Don't even turn on the TV. Just keep it off all day.
You guys know what good things are up in Oregon? Oh, the Nike. You can go see the Nike factory up in Oregon. So instead of going to the game today, that'll be more interesting than watching the game. So,
another game, interesting matchup here, and rematch from last year. Alabama at home hosting Tennessee. Tennessee's offense hasn't looked as good as it did last year. Alabama, even though they themselves haven't looked that good this year, still ranked number 11 in the country. They've had a couple slip-ups here and there. A lot of close calls for Alabama, a lot closer than Nick Saban would have liked, but I've heard, I've seen, and I think I heard you talk about this week, Scott. Nick Saban has this game circled on his calendar, like at least multiple times. He did not like the way that game ended last year in Knoxville. So, big revenge game here for Nick Saban, as I'm pretty sure a lot of people are aware of. But the question is, can they execute? Because that's been a problem for Alabama this year. Their execution has been poor in certain cases. So what do we think of this matchup? Scott, I'll start with you.
So, Alan, you heard right, first of all. So, this week, I think it was on the Let's Talk Bets show. They interviewed Nick Saban a month and a half ago. And when you looked on his desk, there was a folder, and Tennessee was on the folder. He circled this game, 60-59 last year. The difference with the Tennessee offense this year is Hendon Hooker. Him not being there and him being there is the total difference of them being a good offense and a great offense. Joe Milton, Texas. I watched the whole Texas A&M Tennessee game. Joe Milton was terrible in that game, and I guess that's the way he's played all year long for the most part. So, I think Alabama at home wins the game in a lower scoring game than people think. The over-under was 49 at the beginning of the week. I think it's going under 49. I just don't think Tennessee's going to score much. Alabama's going to be up for this game. They're going to be ready to go. Their defense is going to be smothering. They're going to force Joe Milton to make mistakes with Tennessee. And that's what they do. They have a great running game. 3 running backs, really, really good. But their passing game is off. And if Alabama knows that, Alabama will just stack the box and say, okay, Joe Milton, go beat us. And I don't think he can. So I love Alabama in the under today.
I agree. Saban in redemption games is huge. Like, he does not just circle games and be like, all right, I'm going to go out there, we're going to be us. No, he's going to go out there and be that much extra because he's not going to have that L again. And he's going to make up for what happened last year. Even though his team is, got question marks on the offense, the defense is still somewhat the Alabama defense. But Tennessee, like you said, Hendon Hooker not being there is a huge problem for them. Joe Milton isn't looking right. But, God, Saban in that redemption game, he always comes out and smashes you in the mouth right away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't look pretty, especially when you go against a motivated Nick Saban. If he's motivated, he is not. We talked about Oregon earlier. This I'm not saying this is going to be the same thing because I think Tennessee's a much better team than Washington State. But this could be a similar kind of fashion where Nick Saban's like, it's 4th and 12 and like the 30 something in Tennessee territory, and he's still going to go for it because he does not want to lose this game.
No, he's got a bit, like you said, he's got a bit of taste in his mouth. They gave up 60 points to Tennessee last year. That's not Nick Saban's team giving up 60 points to anybody. Never mind Tennessee. It doesn't matter. He's looking to show the country that that's not the Alabama that everybody knows. So,
But yeah, that'll be interesting. From one team to probably the biggest surprise team, not just in the SEC, but maybe all of college football. How about the Missouri Tigers? Ranked number 20. They've only got 1 loss. They host South Carolina today. A lot of people think, they gave Georgia a run for their money at home last year. I know they got to go to Athens this year, but later on down the line. But kind of sneaky good Missouri team we got here this year.
Go ahead, Mike. You can go first on this one. You go first.
Yeah, it's a yes and a no because I always feel like Mizzou can be good, and then they show us, hey, yeah, we're here, and then, bam, they flatline and they're out. It's like, come on now. But this year I feel like they are going to kind of staying above the line. And I don't know. I don't know how to look at it, really, because South Carolina and Spencer Rattler, they're that team where if you give them a shot, and it's a puncher's shot, they'll go out there with a puncher's chance, and bam, they'll hit you in the mouth. And if Mizzou can't recover from it, then they can lose this game. And again, that starts to downfall what Mizzou really is almost every year. But hopefully they can maintain what they do, and they just keep pushing it, and they take over this game.
Quarterback Brady Cook, 2,054 passing yards, 14 touchdowns, and a 78.3 QBR. Not a bad year for the Mizzou quarterback. Really, the kind of the best quarterback they've had since really Drew Lock left. So, maybe even a little bit better than what Drew Lock was when he was there at Missouri. So, not really going to be a top candidate for any awards or anything, but still having a solid year offensively. I think they're going to have to pass in order to keep being relevant because their rushing game isn't really that spectacular. They're 87th in the country in rushing, so they're gonna have to throw the ball a little bit.
if Georgia's to lose a game, this is the team they're going to lose to down the stretch. Missouri. I like Missouri a lot. I watched. I think they played LSU like 3 weeks ago. They're fairly good. Without Brock Bowers, Georgia is down to Missouri's level now, which mean, and everybody will say that's crazy. Georgia's number one. No, they're not. They're number 2 in the country in my mind. That's first and foremost. Number 2 is their talent level comes down to Missouri, and Missouri has a chance to go into Athens and beat Georgia without Brock Bowers. And I keep bringing that back, but that's a huge point. Georgia's not the same team without him. Every time they need a completion, Brock Bowers was the guy. Every time they needed a big play, Brock Bowers was the guy for Georgia. And he will be the guy in the playoff because I'm think they're gonna make the playoff. But Missouri's the team that could beat Georgia down the stretch here, and put a kink into Georgia's national title plans, so to speak. So, be on the lookout if you're Georgia for Missouri because they're coming and they're good. So,
yeah, I think so too. I think Missouri's played well enough. Heartbreaking loss to LSU, as Scott kind of alluded to a minute ago. They really should have won that game, but remember, this is a young team. They're just now coming together. They're playing very, very well. And I agree with you, Scott. If there's a team that can give Georgia fits, it's probably going to be Missouri. I would say Florida as well, but Florida, we don't know what kind of Florida team we're going to get. They're just up and down too much for it to matter. But if there's one team aside from maybe Alabama in the title game that could give Georgia a run from their money, it's probably going to be Missouri. So it'll be. I don't even know if Alabama's going to give Georgia a ride for their money, if I'm being honest.
I think they will. I think Georgia could end up with 2 losses this year. I think very easily. I don't know what Mike thinks, but
I don't know if Georgia plays Ole Miss this year, but I love that Ole Miss team.
Yeah,
I think Georgia already played Ole Miss. I think they shut them down. I think they shut them down.
They did.
Oh no, Alabama did. I know Alabama did. I'm not sure.
No, I think Georgia played Ole. I'll look at Georgia's schedule.
I don't think Alabama did. I thought one of them still had to play him. I don't know.
I know Alabama did. I believe because I was rooting heavily for Ole Miss in that game because that's when Alabama was probably at their lowest at that point, and then they finally decided to wake up in that game. So,
okay, so here's Georgia's schedule down the stretch here. They got Florida October 28th. Missouri, November 4th, Ole Miss, November 11th, at Tennessee, November.
So those three games in a row, Florida, Missouri, Ole Miss, those are going to be really tough games for Georgia.
4 games. They got Tennessee at Tennessee after that. Yeah. So they got
without Brock Bowers. All 4 of those games are without Brock Bowers.
Yeah, they could lose 2 of those games easily. So
wow. Man,
better be on the lookout for
if they get through this without a loss, kudos to Kirby Smart for the job he's doing there at Georgia.
And it's crazy, and we're acting like, oh, you're doing a great job. You lost 1 player, you still do. When did it come to this? Sometimes, like, all right, I'll take a professional side real quick, but last year, Von Miller goes down in that Buffalo defense. The whole defense shows ass and starts letting 30 points on them. This year, the Cowboys, Trayvon Diggs goes, and then all of a sudden the defense acts like they don't know how to play defense anymore. It's like, why does one player make the whole team something? Like, there's our all-stars in other areas on that team, on that defense, or on teams. Like, God, that's crazy how one dude makes the whole difference.
Well, here's the other thing with Georgia. Stetson Bennett.
Yeah, that leadership.
Yeah, because look at their quarterback now. They've been playing close games all year long. I'm surprised they haven't lost the game this year so far.
Well, see, it's a funny thing, and we'll get into the Heisman stuff later, but Carson Beck is actually number 9 in the rankings right now as far as Heisman finalists, which is
I don't see it.
He's ahead of Quinn Ewers, if that means anything.
That's nuts too.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm an Oklahoma guy. I hate Texas with a burning passion. Scott knows this. I talk shit on Texas all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Unless it's the Rangers or the Cowboys, I talk shit on Texas all the time. Quinn Ewers has played well. Even in that Oklahoma game, yes, he had the couple interceptions early. He had the fumble in the second half, but he still played lights out and played well in that game. I still think he's better than what
Oh, yes.
Georgia's quarterback is. So it's one game, it's one letdown. He's still going to be a finalist for the Heisman, in my opinion. I still think, and I'm sure Scott will agree with this, and we'll kind of transition into Texas here in a minute because their game's going to be up next. But I still think it's going to be down to Oklahoma and Texas to see who not only wins the Big 12 but gets that final playoff spot.
Yeah, I would kind of agree. Everybody's on Texas again to beat Oklahoma in the Big 12 title game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like Steve Sarkisian in the big spot. There's two coaches I don't like in the big spot right now. Sarkisian, Harbaugh. But Harbaugh's talent is going to win out, I think. If you remember last year, what was the mentality going in? Oh, it's going to be Michigan, Georgia in the college final. It's going to be Michigan, Georgia. Michigan's going to blow TCU out.
And it was almost Ohio. It was almost Ohio State TCU. Can you believe that?
Yeah,
it should have been Ohio State TCU. That missed field goal and then a couple different calls, and it would have been
right. And here's the thing: nobody gave TCU a chance to beat Michigan, and they beat them 51-48.
Yeah,
Jim Harbaugh does not coach well in these big spots like this, so he hasn't had a big spot yet. But when he gets in the college football playoffs, he's going to be playing Georgia.
And it's like we saw in the Red River game. Oklahoma's defense is much improved from what it was a year ago.
Yeah.
They're a lot more physical. They're a lot near to get to the ball a lot quicker. Danny Stutzman has evolved as a linebacker over the first 2 years since he's been in Norman. So he's becoming a centerpiece for that defense. He's becoming a big time draft guy too. So or at least some scouts are saying he might, maybe middle second, third round kind of a linebacker that you could probably steal in day 2 or day 3 of the draft. So and if he keeps pushing this, he might be a day 1 player. Who knows? A lot of great improvement on this team. But Mike, did you have something?
We were just mentioning Harbaugh and big moments. You know what that reminds me of? Is like Kirk Cousins when the lights come on. When he plays underneath the lights, it's like a cockroach. He goes and hides somewhere, and you don't ever see him. Jim Harbaugh gets in that big moment, and all of a sudden he freezes. And if the talent isn't there to go out there and do it without him, it's not going to happen. Like this year, he could literally not be there, and I think the team would still win.
See the Super Bowl against Joe Flacco and the Ravens.
Mike, don't you know I cherry-picked every Minnesota Viking primetime game and went against them on the money line? I did it. Every primetime game.
That's what it is. Them lights come on, it's over.
It's over. And that's what it is with Sarkisian. Sarkisian, I've never had faith in.
No.
Even when he was a head coach before, I never had faith in him.
No.
And sure enough, Oklahoma was a big game, and Sarkisian spit the bit down the stretch. That team did not win. And Quinn Ewers had a battle to get the starting quarterback job at Texas before the season started. It was not handed to him. He battled for it and got it.
Mm-hmm.
So, kudos
to the point where Arch Manning is now 3rd on the depth chart, which is crazy to me still.
Yeah. So Arch Manning might transfer out.
And the guy who's behind him as far as the recruiting class is our backup, Jackson Arnold. So, and Jackson Arnold has played a little bit so far this year. He's actually looked good. So I'm excited for the future for us anyway. So, speaking of Texas here, they're kind of in a similar situation that we are this week. Only difference is we're hosting Central Florida. Texas is at Houston. And these Texas rivalries, I don't know if you've seen this, and I know Carlos and Rios have talked about this. Like every Texas rivalry team, this always gets personal for some of these Texas guys because we know Texas is like football is religion in Texas. Mm-hmm. So these get very personal. But Texas off the bye week goes to Houston this week, another team that's kind of maybe at the bottom of the Big 12, so to say. They've been kind of but. Is this a trap game for Texas too going into this week?
No. Coming off that loss in Oklahoma, that done. When they walked off that field, that was it. They knew this whole bye week's been nothing but beat down, grind out, practicing because they know if they don't prove and show the following week after that they're still that team, they're going to keep falling. They're going to keep looking at like, nah, maybe they weren't that good. They're going to come out here. They're going to whoop I mean, whoop Houston's ass and say, hey, we're still here. So when it does come down to that game at the end against Oklahoma in that championship, nobody's going to question it. Nobody's even going to question this.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they better look good. Alabama's hoping they look good because that's their only loss on the season. So,
Alan, remember what happened with Houston last game they played?
Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
No. Houston's last game. They just
yeah. It was West Virginia. They came back and won that game.
Mm-hmm.
Knocked
down, up, emotions. Guess what? When you come back to play the next week, down the tubes. They thought they lost the game. They had it won. They thought they lost it. They won the game on a Hail Mary. It's not going to be pretty for Houston today, I don't think. I agree with Mike. Texas is going to have their way with Houston today.
Yeah. And that goes along with the Heisman candidacy. Ewers has to show out. Has to show out if he wants an inkling, a chance of walking down over there and seeing if he can hold that trophy, which I don't think he has a chance of. But in his mind, if he wants that shot or that chance, he has to show out.
And the other thing you got to remember, Alan, Texas now has to win these games big going into the Big 12 title game if they get there. So expect Texas to just lay a big number on Houston today and show Houston and show the rest of the country, hey, we're not going away. We're staying. We're here for good. So
Next one on the docket, Virginia, North Carolina. Virginia's been an awful team most of the year. It hasn't been pretty to watch this team at all. I mean, you've seen them a couple times, Scott, kind of had to when they're playing Boston College in a close game. That's another team. We won't get into that because I don't think they're on here, but we won't talk about Boston College for your sake. But North Carolina, though, number 10 in the country, quietly kind of putting themselves at the top of the ACC a little bit. I know Florida State's still up there. Drake May is a top 10 candidate for the Heisman. He's a candidate to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft coming up. What we think of North Carolina winning big as well today against a porous Virginia team?
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I don't think that's a real question.
I don't think it's a real question either. I don't know why I said it. But how big does Virginia have to win today? Like put up 50, put up 60 to kind of show, hey, we're still for real?
I don't even know if they have to put up that much. It's how Drake May has to play. Drake May has to show, again, for the Heisman candidacy and his own self that, hey, I could do this on every level, even when it could be a letdown game or a trap game or whatever the hell they want to call some of these games. He has to go out there and prove to everybody else, hey, I am that top 10 pick, top 5 pick. I am Heisman quality. And guess what? We're here and we're going to see Florida State. And Florida State with their up and down mentality somewhat, even though they may win games, they just look up and down in some of these games. North Carolina come out there and again, punch them straight in the mouth, and then that's it. Florida State will start crumbling some, and again, North Carolina can walk away and walk their way right up to the top 6.
So North again, another team schedule. Virginia today, Georgia Tech next week. They should bury Georgia Tech.
Yep.
The Campbell fighting Campbells the following week. Forget that. Then it gets interesting. Duke and Clemson. 2 games. They need to win both of those to have a shot at the college football playoff. And they need to win them big. Because if they're undefeated going into that ACC title game, which will be against Florida State probably, because they don't play them in the regular season, so they'll see them in the ACC title game probably. They've got to win out. And Drake May's got to be the answer to them winning out. He's got to play as good as he has. They got I think it's Tez Walker. They got him back off of suspension. So he has his wide receiver, his stud wide receiver that he needs. So now North Carolina's got everything on the table in front of them now. They just need to win. That's all they need. They don't have to worry about anybody else. Just go win. And that's a great feeling for any team. So
we already talked a little bit about Ole Miss. They're at Auburn today. Auburn can give teams some fits. They give Georgia a fit, but I'm in agreement. I think Ole Miss is going to route this team because all Auburn could do is run the ball. They can't really throw it for beans. I remember watching that game against Georgia. They struggled throwing the football, but the only success that they had was on the ground. So I'm this will be kind of short and sweet, but I think we're on agreement. Ole Miss routes Auburn today.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have to. This isn't like a question either. Like, they have to do that. They can't do this Georgia thing where they barely win this game. They have to prove that, again, they're that team. They're not just flash in a pan type thing.
Yeah, it's a shame they couldn't beat Alabama when they had the shot to, because Alabama was struggling at the time.
Yep.
And they didn't win. And Lane Kiffin, for whatever reason, can't beat Nick Saban. So they need to win games like this.
Yep. Next one's kind of interesting. A rematch of the Big 12 title game from last year, TCU, Kansas State. Both of these teams have kind of fallen off a little bit. They're still in the hunt. I feel like the winner of this game is still going to be fighting for a shot at the Big 12 title, while the loser's probably out of it. It's going to be hard overcoming Texas and Oklahoma. I think TCU plays Oklahoma, but they don't play Texas, and Kansas State plays Texas, but they don't play Oklahoma. So, you get one of these two teams will probably still be in the running, but this is probably a must-win for both of these guys.
TCU's been weird all year long. They lose the first game to Colorado, then they become a defensive team and shut teams down, and now all of a sudden they're back to somewhere in the middle. They've just been a weird team this year. Sometimes when teams have that 1 year where they came out of nowhere, made the playoff, got to the national championship game, and got blown out by Georgia, sometimes the fall back is really hard. And for TCU, it's been really hard for them. Kansas State's a sleeping team in the Big 12. So TCU is going to get all they can handle today, I think, to Kansas State. So
I agree. I agree. What's funny is the difference right now is Max Duggan. That dude, his personality, his swag, his play is what TCU is missing right now, because they don't have that guy.
Yeah.
And remember, Max Duggan lost that quarterback battle at the beginning of the year last year, and once he took over, though, it changed.
And that was that mentality. He checked himself and said, "Hey, I got to do better and be better." Then he come out and bam, smacked everybody in the mouth and shut everybody up. Went to the championship game, got smoked, but he still proved a lot of people wrong on their thoughts.
Yes. Yeah.
Bigger for TCU, because they do play both Texas and Oklahoma. I just looked at their schedule. They do play both of those teams. So this is kind of bigger for TCU. They're 4-3. Obviously, two big losses for them against West Virginia and Iowa State, who are kind of middling teams as well. But they got to figure something out. Kansas State probably has more to lose as well in this game, because they're probably a higher candidate. But we saw them earlier in the year. They looked good starting out, but then they lose the game to Missouri on the 60-yard field goal. They kind of haven't really been the same team since. It's kind of like what TCU. You said Max Duggan was a big thing for them. Really, Deuce Vaughn is what they're missing in Kansas State. So. Same similar fashion there, Scott, with Kansas State.
Yeah, I mean, you got Oklahoma, Texas up top. Iowa State's 3-1 in the conference, so maybe that's not as bad a loss as we all think. They're 4-3 overall, but they're 3-1 in the conference. So,
and Oklahoma already has the win over Iowa State, so that's on their resume.
When you lose heart and soul players like a Deuce Vaughn and a Max Duggan and Brock Bowers and some other guys too. Alabama has had heart and soul losses throughout their whole Nick Saban career there. It kind of takes a minute for a team to say, all right, we need to readjust and we need to figure this out. And sometimes it doesn't take till week 5 or week 6 before you figure it out. And that's what's going on with TCU. They've been highly inconsistent all year. Kansas State, same way. Kansas State's been, they're 2-1 in the conference, 4-2 overall, but they haven't really been a great 4-2 team. They've been one of those teams that have kind of played ball. You're not really impressed by them, but you're also not really. You say, "Wow, look at how they can play." So, to me, Kansas State, the Deuce Vaughn departure did hit them kind of hard, and it took them some time to readjust, but they have now. So, they're undefeated at home. So whenever they play at home, you're probably going to get a win out of that. So
again, it's like they were on that up last year because of Deuce and everything else. Now they plateaued, and now they're hitting that decline. But again, when they're at home, they win, but it's that decline because they're missing. This is the aspect of college teams. If you do not have that personality, that swag, that Baker Mayfield type thing, you're going to go out there and just raw, destroy everything. Yep. It's hard for teams to get back up after a good year when they lose people. Because if that swag and personality is gone, then you kind of just even paced, and that's it. That's all you are.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, our next matchup, as we get into the evening matchups here, the counterpart to this morning's game, Michigan at Michigan State. Michigan State, as we all know, they've kind of plummeted after losing their head coach. Michigan is on a high right now. That Scott, you said they're basically head and shoulders above everybody else right now, best team in the country, even though they're ranked number 2. This should be a blowout as well. They have this on NBC. It's going to be nationally televised, which I don't know why they like putting massacres on national TV, but that's just how we Americans think, I guess. But Michigan State, at any chance Michigan State gives them a fight, or is this just one and done?
Harbaugh is 2-5 against the spread against Michigan State. 2-5.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. Michigan State knows how to play Michigan, except for this year, because the things you can rely on: death, taxes, and Michigan football scoring 35 points a game. They're going to put 35 up. They do it every week. It's no different. At least 35. Michigan State, I don't know if they're going to score 10 tonight. The Mel Tucker stuff that happened, and we won't go into it. Everybody knows what's going on with that. Has just decimated that program, and those kids don't want to play, and it shows. They were big up against Rutgers last week. They were up huge, and they choked the game away. So to me, I think Michigan comes in to Michigan State and puts a number on them. Michigan's the best team in the country. I mean, they're better than Georgia. I mean,
yeah, the Spartans, man, they're deflated. They're taken out because of the Mel Tucker situation, and them kids, they lost something there. Like, they lost a piece of themselves in the whole situation, and it sucks. It sucks for them because they come there to do this, and you would think, all right, they're reviving, they're doing good. We all thought maybe they would start to come up a little bit, but now they just that's it. Mm-hmm. But again, does Michigan ride into this with those stupid allegations of sign stealing and all this other? What are they doing? Like, it's like every little thing is against Harbaugh now. Hey, well, suspended because of this recruiting and then this sign stealing. Look, I hate the team up north. Hate them. But again, this shit needs to stop. I mean, it's just got to stop, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's getting a little out of hand. I mean, it's starting to get into a Houston Astros territory of unpleasant. So it's like,
Alan digresses from that Houston Astros talk. But
I already have the hat and the cup ordered. I'm just waiting to see what this series ends up being, because I got to get a jersey on top of that if they end up losing to the Astros. But again.
But all this Michigan thing leads me to believe one thing: Harbaugh wins the national title, he's gone. He's going to the pros. He's going to NFL.
He's going back, huh?
That's what I think. I don't think he's going to stay at Michigan. The reason he came to Michigan was to win the national title. I think with all this stuff going on, I think if he wins the national title, which I think fully expect him to do, I think he could bolt for the NFL.
You know what's crazy? And I got the team for him to go to, the Chargers.
No.
Staley's going to be gone. And to be honest, that team has an amazing offense. Harbaugh can run that, has the quarterback, has the weapons. He can get that defense together and have good defensive personnel.
Right. I agree. I agree 100%. That's where he should go. Whether he does or not, I don't know, but that's where he should go.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, on to our not just the one of the bigger matchups of probably the second biggest matchup of the day outside of Penn State, Ohio State is Florida State hosting Duke. did anybody think that when they made this schedule this year? Duke has been a surprising team. I believe Riley Leonard was a Heisman candidate at one point. I don't know if he's actually playing in this game, but because of his injury. But still a tough test. Mike, you kind of mentioned it with earlier. Florida State gets slow starts and they have to kind of fight back in certain spots. Is this a game where Florida State has to prove that they are indeed for real and have to prove that they can compete for a national title?
Listen, Duke, just to say Duke in football up until the last couple years is just ridiculous. Like, it's dumbfounded to say that. And now this year, last year, you got some stuff. Riley, that kid he's a good quarterback, man.
Yeah.
He really is.
Yeah.
And I think it's more about Duke than Florida State this game.
Mm-hmm.
If they could play their brand of football, if they can play exactly how they know they can play, and Riley can be him, and Florida State start just a tiniest bit slow, Duke will win this game, and there won't be no running back for Florida State. Because, again, Florida State is too up and down. And, again, when they do that, they look weak. They just don't even look like a contender when they do that up and down shit. And it's horrible how high they can go and how low they drop. But it's more about Duke. If Duke plays their football and Riley is him, Duke's going to win this game.
Yeah, Mike Elko is one of the best coaches in the country.
Mm-hmm.
He's come into that Duke program. He's put a stamp on it. He said, we're going to be defensive minded. We're going to be tough. We're going to grind out wins. We're going to run the football, all that stuff. And those kids have taken to that philosophy. So yeah, I agree with Mike. If Duke comes out and gets the ball first and puts a drive together and scores a touchdown, and they hold Florida State and it's like 7-0 going in the middle of the second quarter or 10-7 or whatever, I think Duke can win the game. Riley Leonard's a big key here. I don't know if he's playing or not. I don't think he is, but I think Duke is putting more stock into the North Carolina game that's coming up, more so than this game. But this is a nationally televised game on ABC, so this is going to be interesting to see how Duke comes out at Florida State and plays.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you look at that televised game they had. It was on a Monday night too against Clemson.
I remember that game.
It was literally nobody else was watching anything other than that game, and Duke came out and put a number on them. Yes, they had Riley Leonard at that point, but even so, that defense is still really, really good at Duke. Like you said, they play hard defense. They hit you hard, and they try to play their brand of football. So if they're able to do that against a Florida State team that kind of has been up and down, they haven't really had that dominant win yet on the season. If they can do that, they could shock the world and beat Florida State this week. So.
And then what does that do? That shakes it all up.
It does. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. Because Florida State's top 4 right now. Yep. So if Florida State were to lose, then the whole college football player is completely shaken up. I agree with Mike.
And it's nuts. That game and the Ohio State-Penn State game, if Penn State gets Ohio State and Duke gets Florida State, this game becomes nuts until the end of the season.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's right.
It's getting so chaotic, and I love it. It's giving me 2007 vibes. I don't know about you guys, but it's giving me 2007 vibes.
This gives me hope for college football.
Yeah,
college football was so just these teams and then these teams way down here.
Yeah, for the last 5 years, and I agree.
And it goes from 1 all the way to like 15. Like, you can go back and forth between all of that and say there's teams all over the board that can just run table and move all the way up. Mm-hmm. And that's the glory thing right now. And when they make the playoffs and expand them, this is going to be huge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was the last few years. What's it's been? Well, let's feed some stats into the computer, and the computer will spit out who the top 4 is. Now, at least you have the people factor in it.
Yeah.
But again, as we said, if Duke wins this game tonight against Florida State, look out. Bedlam is gonna ensue completely. So
yeah. then yeah, let's not get into Bedlam too soon. That's a couple weeks away there, Scott.
Yes, I know. I'm
But
sorry.
yeah, as far as like the chaos on football, yes, Bedlam will ensue in the college football world.
Yeah.
And then another game here of our final game we'll talk about Utah on the road at USC. USC has plummeted. I mean, even with their wins, they just kept getting lower and lower and lower until finally last week, Notre Dame put a number on them, exposed their defense for what it truly is. And I've been telling people this all the time. Lincoln Riley-led teams do not have a defense.
Nope.
And it's reigned true for USC here this season. Their defense has been awful. Awful. Caleb Williams finally got shut down, which is why their offense wasn't able to help them against Notre Dame. Now they're going up against a team that has had their number the last couple years in Utah. I don't know if Cam Rising is playing in this game. He's not. So it might be a much different team. But then again, Utah's defense is still really, really good. They may keep them in this game. If they're able to shut down Caleb Williams at all, the Utes got a chance here in this game. What we think, fellas?
Listen, Utah wins this game. I'm picking Utah, and I'm picking it because of USC's defense. Because Utah's offense can play. They can play. They're not what they are with Cam Rising, but they can play. And it's because USC's defense is so poorly. That defense got exposed when San Jose State put 28 on them. When San Jose State did that, I'm like, what the hell? What's going on here?
That's true.
You know,
Colorado put up 42 on them.
Yeah, but I mean, you could expect that offense to do something. You don't expect San Jose State to do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's true.
Even though it was just 28, you just don't. Teams like supposed to do that, you know. So, was I gone for a minute?
Just for a second. I will go the opposite way. I think the best thing for USC was to lose that game in the way they lost to Notre Dame last week. I think Caleb Williams will come back. He plays much, much better at home. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I actually think both teams could get in the 30s here. I think USC's definitely getting in the 30s. I think at home, they're a totally different team. And I think what people have said is USC has gone in these games nonchalantly. Have said, all right, we're USC. We got Caleb Williams. We're just going to throw our uniforms on the field. We'll win the game. Mm-hmm. Got smacked in the mouth last week. Caleb Williams is going to come back and play very well. I'm not sold on Caleb Williams as a pro prospect, to be honest with you. That too. Caleb Williams has trouble, reading defenses and stuff like that. The thing that
apparently he wants ownership stake, which can't happen in the NFL.
The Cowboys could draft him. Jerry will give him ownership stake. Bob Kraft, same thing. But the thing about about Utah, and I heard this earlier in the year, and it's kind of stuck with me all year. What is the difference between Utah and Iowa? They don't score a lot of points on offense. Neither of these teams do, and they play great defense. Utah is the Iowa of the West right now. So I think Utah's going to have to put up 30 points, which they haven't done much. I don't think they've done that all year long, to be honest with you, to stay with USC's offense, because Caleb Williams is going to be dialed in tonight, and Lincoln Riley is going to be dialed in tonight. I look for USC to put a big number up on Utah. Whether that means they win the game or not because of their defense, I don't know. But I just think USC is looking at a 30 to 35 point game tonight on offense. That's all. And I agree with you. USC, even when they were winning, they were plummeting down the rankings. If you remember, they were way up. And then all of a sudden, as soon as Colorado hit, they started going down. And nobody bought into them. And sure enough, Notre Dame got them last week. So,
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in this game. I'm of course rooting for Utah for no particular reason whatsoever. I don't know why you asked.
Riley. You hate Lincoln Riley.
I hate Lincoln Riley the way he left anyway. But still, I think Williams could have a bounce back game. But then again, Utah, like I said, like Mike kind of alluded to as well, they've had USC's numbers, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a Utah win tonight either. We won't talk about the game itself, but last team I want to highlight is the team that got the biggest win last week in Washington. They do play Arizona State today, but Washington got the big win at home against Oregon. Currently, in looking at the Heisman rankings, Michael Penix Jr. is the favorite right now for the Heisman Trophy. A lot of good vibes coming out of Washington right now. A lot of people have been high on them. A lot of people said don't sleep on Washington all year, and they've kind of proved it. They've shown it this year. So as far as the team's perspective, how far do we think Washington can go here? And Mike, if you're still with us,
yeah, I'm here, and I don't know what's going on. It's ridiculous.
I want to say they're going to make the college football playoff. If they win the Pac-12, they'll make it. They'll be in. Pac-12 it could be the best conference this year only. SEC is the best conference.
Sure, only.
That's it.
No, it really could. You have so many teams that Washington, Oregon, Colorado at the beginning of the year. Now they've fallen off, with their losses to Stanford and a couple others. But
now they're all moving to different conferences next year.
Yeah, now they're moving to different conferences next year. So it'll be the Pac-2 pretty soon. So, Washington runs the table and wins the Pac-12. They're going to the playoff. They'll be one of the four in the playoff, I think. Michael Penix just gives them that. I love Michael Penix.
Yes,
I love him a lot, and I think he should be the favorite for the Heisman. I think he's one of those guys. And the sad truth is he's way out in the upper Northwest, and nobody gets to see him play unless they're playing 3:30 Eastern on ABC, like last week against Oregon. But he's the best quarterback in the country right now, I think. And I don't know if it's even close right now. Everybody's saying Caleb Williams. Well, Caleb Williams showed last week he's not as good.
No.
So Michael Penix and Bo Nix are the two best quarterbacks in the country, in my mind. And they played last week, and they showed why.
Mm-hmm.
So, he can lead them to the playoff. Whether he can lead them to a national championship, I don't think so. But he can get it in the playoff at least. So,
yeah, Caleb Williams shouldn't be in the Heisman at all right now. The way he played, the way he's played all year. I mean, he's done good, but his thing is I don't know. I'm just not high on him either. Right. I like Bo Nix. I like Penix Jr. Shedeur Sanders, I think, is up there. I mean, his team isn't winning games, but he's doing everything. I mean, everything possible that kid is doing to win these games. I mean, 400-yard games. What he's had, how many interceptions has he got? He got a couple interceptions. I mean, the dude's doing it all. But Caleb Williams should not go back to back or none of that crap. That should definitely not be talk. It should really be Penix. I like Penix a lot. Yeah. I mean, if you would have had a team around him in Indiana, maybe you could have made some noise in the Big Ten and surprised some people. But problem is, it was Indiana.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's your competition. Unfortunately, it's a competition you play.
Yeah.
And Caleb Williams was playing the San Jose States and all these other schools when Michael Penix, they weren't playing great schools. But now they're starting to. Now nobody thought the Pac-12 was good at the beginning of the year. Now everybody's seeing, they're really good. Michael Penix might be the best player in the country right now. Might be. So.
Mm-hmm. So here's our top 5 as far as what this is from ESPN, so take it with a grain of salt, if you will. They still have both of Michael Penix number 1, Caleb Williams is number 2, Bo Nix out of Oregon number 3. Going through here, 4, Jordan Travis, Florida State. 5, Cam Ward out of Washington State, even though they got, like you said, Scott, they got blown out last week. Yep. I don't know why it's still in the top 5. And then, other guys that are probably in it, Drake May, Dylan Gabriel. You mentioned, Quinn Ewers out of Texas. It's still a wide open race, but, right now it looks like it's Michael Penix is to lose at this point.
The guy that's not mentioned that ought to be mentioned is Jaden Daniels of LSU.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to do so much in games for them to win. He's got so much pressure on him that defense is USC bad. It might be even worse. He's got to score every time he touches his hands touch the ball. And that's a lot of pressure to put on a kid, a 20-year-old kid, to have to score every time, and he does it. He needs to be in the Heisman conversation. I hope he gets an invite to New York for the Heisman final ceremony because he deserves it. I've watched him play all year. I'm highly impressed with that kid. That kid's amazing at what he does. So Caleb Williams Caleb Williams should be out of the top 5. Gone. See you later.
Yeah.
Buddy, after last week, you're not even in the Heisman race. So bye.
Yeah. I agree with you on Jalen Daniels from LSU as well. There's Jalen and there's Jaden in Kansas, and it's like you can't figure this stuff out.
I know he's a quarterback for LSU. That's about all.
Yeah. Well, that's his designated name, quarterback at LSU. There you go.
Quarterback at LSU. Yeah.
There we go. So Scott, since we're going to cover the games, what are some of your best bets for today?
Oh boy, Oregon minus 20. That was one. They're actually taking less money now. They're down to like 17.5 or 18. I saw it this morning. I don't know why, but they're taking less money. People must have faith that Washington State's gonna do something. I took the USC team total over 29.5 this morning. I think they're gonna put 30 up. I think it's gonna be a 35-31 type of game. Northwestern team total under 14.5. When Nebraska plays weak offenses, they shut them down completely. All year long, that's what they've done. When they play really good offenses, they struggle. Northwestern's not a good offense. They're going to struggle. So that's another one. And Michigan. I've been on Michigan all year long. I'm on them again. Minus 20. It's up to 25.5. I got it at 24 yesterday. I took it. I just think Michigan's on a different level from Michigan State. They're going to I'm assuming they're going to win a huge game. They're going to put 35 up. Michigan State can't score 10. So that's a pretty safe bet. The last one I did was Navy Air Force when it first came out at 43.5. I went under because the quarterback injury for Air Force is number one. And number two, these commander-in-chief games, so to speak, do not have a lot of points scored in them. And if you go back and you look over the history of it, there's not a lot of points scored. Army Navy play in the high teens, low 20s usually. Air Force doesn't have their starting quarterback today. Both teams love to run the football. Clock's going to run. Less plays in the game mean less chances to score. So those are my best bets for today.
You know what's crazy is I agree with all of them except for one that I question just because of Utah's defense.
Yeah.
And their run defense is amazing. And I think that's what changes the game out there. But, I mean, USC could still put the points up. It's just that's the one that's shaky. Like I'm like, I don't know, man. That's just not a bet I would make. But I agree with everything.
The thing that I'm going on is the caveat. And I threw less money on that bet than I did the others. Yeah. My philosophy is Caleb Williams is going to come out and show out, and Lincoln Riley is going to be dialed in with his game plan today, better than he's been all year long since they walked into Notre Dame and got pounded. So that's the only reason. And I put less money on that because I'm a little less confident. When I see USC having to score less than 30 points in the game to win a bet, I'm on it because their offense is good. So
they are good. It's just, again, like you said, coming off that ass whipping, it can go one or two ways.
That's right.
They're still riding down, or they pop back, and they pop back in a big way.
No doubt. And Utah's defense, like you said, is no joke. It's a real deal.
Yeah.
And that's my fear, is that USC will be derailed by a defense like Utah. So I had a lead toward Oklahoma, but I didn't play it.
Yeah. I'll say what are I know they're favored, but what are they favored by today?
18 and a half right now over Central Florida. That's a lot of points coming off a bye. I don't know how they're going to react. That's why I didn't play it.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling they're going to pound them. They have to beat teams by 3 touchdowns right now. Mm-hmm. Or they're not going to make the playoff. Mm-hmm. They're on the outside looking in right now. So just on the outside, but they're on the outside.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah. And some of those teams ahead of them will probably lose too. Not say I don't. There's a couple that probably won't, but there's going to be a couple of those teams ahead of them that might lose. So yeah. They'll still fight. And if they beat Texas again, So,
Oh yeah, they're in.
and I was gonna say that's the argument that they'll have at least the argument over Alabama. It's like we beat the team that beat you twice.
Well, Alabama's not going. There's gonna be more than 4 undefeated teams at the end of the year. So Alabama's gonna be out, I think.
We got some games starting here. We got UAB Memphis. It's 8-7 in that game right now. UAB has the lead. Indiana's beating Rutgers 7-0 right now. No score everywhere else, and I believe Penn State, Ohio State just started, so that'll be kicking off here pretty
Book was
soon.
playing too. They showed him out there. So
8-7. So that means both teams scored the first time they got. That's gonna be like a 45-41 game.
Someone's going for 2
And,
already.
Yeah,
no score between BC and Georgia Tech yet.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Come on, BC's a world of hurt in here. World of hurt. They gotta look for a new coach at the end of the year again.
And both Oklahoma and Central Florida went 3-0 in their first possession. So,
Damn.
Really?
yeah,
That's something else.
Damn it.
yeah. That's what we're prepared for. But the guys, thank you as always. This was a great first episode. We're probably gonna get more people involved with this show as we go along. We're gonna we have a dedicated college football show now, so we can only build and grow from here. But for my 2 guests here, Mike, I'll start with you. Where can the people find you? What you got coming up?
Listen, every Tuesday at 6:30 at the Man Cave 8172. Come find us on YouTube or at the Man Cave 10 on every other platform, it seems like. And we do our sports show Tuesday, Sports Madness, and then Wednesdays, Relax Wednesday. That's just to chill, have a drink, a smoke, cigar, and just talk about anything, everything, and nothing. And Wednesday night, I do the AFC North show with my boy and from Game Time 216. And then, here I am now with you guys.
Mm-hmm. Scott, what you got going on, and where can the people find you at?
I got nothing going on. I'm no. Let's Talk Sports Show tomorrow morning. NFL getting ready for Week 7, obviously. Back tomorrow night with Johnny Cruz and Nick Bodkins for the recap up until the Sunday night game. And then Monday night, we got Jim Berringer and Jonathan Grishman on for that episode and talk about hockey, wrestling, football, college basketball, whatever it may be. And then I think the AFC East Roundtable is coming back Tuesday night. If not, I'll be on with Jonathan and Alan on the baseball show. But if not, I'll be on the AFC East Roundtable. That's up to Johnny Cruz. Obviously, he's the guy that steers the ship in that. We're down to the Final Four for baseball. So, Alan's not having fun right now because it's not going well for him.
I'm just saying, please be the 2019 World Series. Please be the 2019 World Series.
Well, you got one thing going for you. Houston's going back home now to play games. So
that's what I'm saying. Is no team has won at home in this series so far. So
yeah,
I'm praying that trend continues and we can win it out here.
I know. I'm surprised it's where it is right now.
We should have won last. We should have won last night. We should have won last night had they not given up the home run to Altuve. They should have won last night.
Yeah. How about
that scuffle changed everything?
Yeah. And how about the Phillies falling off the cliff here?
Did they lose? Did they lose?
They lost to Arizona last night, 6-5. It's 2-2.
Wow.
So they've fallen off the cliff too.
Is baseball just gonna hand the Astros another World Series? God.
No, listen. If Arizona wins this series,
they could win it all.
They could win it all. I'd put them as the favorites.
They haven't lost a World Series, have they?
Arizona?
Not that they've been in, no.
No, 1-1, I think.
Yeah. 1-1.
Beat the Yankees. Yeah.
Yep.
So Air Force and Navy is 0-0 with 9 minutes left in the first quarter. So
Penn State just went 3-0. Now they're facing. Well, they didn't go 3-0, but they just kicked the ball back to Buckeyes.
They missed the field goal. Air Force missed the field goal. So now Navy's got the ball. It's gonna be low scoring. So
yeah, missing
field goal. One of those days, y'all. One of those days. Oklahoma just got the ball back on offense, so we'll see how they do. For me, you can find me later today. Actually, we got Let's Talk Dallas Cowboys with Flo and Canteen.
Why? Why? It's a bye week. Come on.
Because I don't like doing shows by myself, Scott.
No, I'm not saying why we're flowing that.
Why do the show?
Why do the show? It's a bye week. We got to get our daily cowboy talk in.
What are you guys going to talk about? The punter? The punter's gonna come up?
I mean, the kicker's a good story.
I hate Cowboys. Listen, when I was growing up, okay, before you keep going, when I was growing up, Alan, the two teams that got fed to Boston all the time, every week, Cowboys, Giants. I hate them both. That's all you watched around here because the Patriots weren't good enough to be on TV because they weren't sold out. So it was Cowboys, Giants every week. I was like, by week 8, I was like, I can't watch football anymore. Cowboys again. We got like 12 Cowboys games every year up here in Boston. It's ridiculous.
That will drive the hate.
Sorry, Alan. Sorry,
No,
Alan.
it's all right. I
Low
completely understand it.
I
completely get it.
digress. I'm sorry, you guys.
But yeah, other than that, as Scott mentioned, we'll have the baseball show. It's going to be on Tuesday night now instead of Tuesday afternoon. With Jonathan's new schedule, him getting his new coaching gig in Arkansas. So that'll be on Tuesday night. So it might just be me and Jonathan. It might be all three of us. And no word yet on what's going to happen with the NFC South roundtable. That might have to be pushed to a later day. That might actually have to be on Saturday, if anything. But we'll figure that out as we go along. We might have to lose Jonathan on that show. Who knows? We'll figure that out. But
listen, either you guys ever need anybody, hit me up. I'm down to do whatever.
Which Jonathan, the Saints? Oh, I can't do the Saints either.
yeah.
They're bad too. They're bad. I can't get into fights with Ashton, so that's why I can't do it.
Yeah. Ashton is one of those passionate guys that he'll go after people for sure. I was gonna say, if you've watched the last couple of weeks, he actually went off on his Falcons. So, it's great. It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch. And then of course also on Wednesdays our NFC East roundtable, which has been hell of fun, somewhat controversial as Scott knows, with the Mad New Yorker on there, Mr. Carlos Chavez. We got Jay from Rec Room as well on there. So, and then I enjoy it. I just enjoy doing this. And of course I wouldn't be doing this. None of us would really be doing this or on this platform without Mr. Dan Harris, and rest in peace to him. We miss you, buddy. Like I said, I've said this a couple times already. This isn't goodbye. This is a we'll see you later, and we hope we make you proud with what we're doing with LTS right now. So,
hey, one more thing. Listen, Buckeyes are making crazy on this Penn State defense. They are just driving down this field like it's nothing. It's nuts. It's nuts how easy they're just doing this.
This is James Franklin in a big game.
Yep, there it is. The lights. Oh. Gotta run, and I'm not at home. I'm out of here.
Is that Kirk Cousins, that quarterback wearing a Penn State jersey?
Hey, guess what game is fed to Boston on ABC for college football today? UCF and Oklahoma. I'm watching right now.
It looks like they're about to get a field goal. No.
Yeah, they're inside the 15-yard line or some
inside 15. Inside the 15.
Inside the 15. Yeah.
Okay, they might have just got the first down then.
No, some guy's down and hurt. So.
Fourth. Oh yeah, they're about to kick it. So, but yeah, that's gonna be it for us today, guys. Thank you for joining me as always. Great first episode. We'll probably have some more guys joining us for this show later on down the line. I'll get with Tanner and see what we can come up with. I know a lot of more people want to join in. We might get some UK brethren joining us for this show, so it should be an interesting take to see how they view college football overseas. So, any last words, gentlemen, before we end off?
OH.
Go BC.
Boomer Sooner. Until then, y'all, we'll see you guys later. Have a great rest of your Saturday. Have a great rest of your weekend. Love y'all. Stay safe and take care.